Welcome back. Today's lesson is on communication in science. So when you have a scientific investigation, in order for other people to know that you've done it, you need to prove it. And so you prove it with some kind of a document, usually a published paper in some kind of a recognized research journal. And by doing that, you're telling the world that you've done some study and you've made some measurements, and here are your analyses. This is your conclusions. And once you give everybody everything you've done, by being published, you do get credit for it. Other people are going to be building on your work, perhaps. You could build on your own work. And then as you do, everybody's working together towards understanding something. So let's look at some of the details. It's an open method. Every scientist is agreeing to share the results with everyone else. Now, of course, this doesn't happen. Everyone wants to keep their own little idea to themselves until they can make some money off of it. But if everyone were to always do that, then nothing would ever be built upon. So one of the things that every scientist agrees to do if they're doing serious research is to share or publish their ideas. Now, by publishing it, they do get credit for it. It's not just like writing it on a chat room somewhere and then having anybody take whatever you want. You must credit people for their work, and people need to be recognized for the work that they did. But once the work is out there, they share, by sharing it with each other, other people with bright ideas can build on that, and as a result, we can know more about how the world works than we did before. So in order to do that, you must precisely communicate the results of your experiments. People need to know exactly what you did, exactly how you did it, so that they could then replicate the results. If someone else can replicate your results, it's very likely that you did figure something out that could then be further investigated. So by communicating your results, you need to report on your lab work. Okay, so this is called peer review. A peer is someone like you, someone that knows what you know. So if there's a scientist who has studied a certain area of science and is very proficient in it, and then communicates the results of his findings via some kind of a journal, then all other scientists in the world who are interested in what he's doing can do their own investigation and first of all see if what he said was true. Then if it is true, build on that. Okay, so the first thing is that they report their lab recording. So a lab report is a record and an analysis of what you found in your research. And even a high school lab report is considered a document of evidence that something was done. I know particularly sure that people who have passed their AP chemistry test with a good enough grade to get two semesters of college out of it, that there are professors in college that will not give them those grades unless they can see their lab book. That lab book, even from a high school class, is considered a document of evidence of something that they did. Now, inside a lab report or inside any type of a paper, you're going to communicate data. And an easy way to do this is by graphs. A graph is showing a relationship between two numbers in such a way that that graph is visually giving you a ton of information all at once. So, for instance, a line graph has two different things. You have an x-axis along the side to side, and you have a y-axis up and down, and two different things are being related as that line arises and falls. A circle graph a lot of times is used for percentages. If so many percent is this and so many percent of this out of 100, then a circle graph is a good indicator of what happened. A bar graph is a good way to use if you're comparing one to another. Okay, so if two things are being compared, one being big and one being little, anybody just looking at that can say, oh, the one on the left grew more or whatever. Okay. Now, another thing that is useful is to have some kind of a model. If you have a system that's extremely complicated, in order to get your brain around it, simply looking at stacks of numbers, most people can't do that. But if they see some kind of a pictorial representation of their data, whether it be a computer analysis or some kind of a model that they can see, it can make the details of that a little easier to discover. So models are very useful, and there's lots of different types of models. Lastly, in this section, we're thinking of theories and laws. So if you do a study and you make a hypothesis that says, I believe that all dogs are white, and you do investigations and you're asking everybody in the world to give you evidence of a non-white dog, and nobody can do it, that doesn't prove that there are no white dogs. It just proves that you never found a white dog or a non-white dog. So you could build from that hypothesis. If you have lots of investigation and you're finding something over and over again, that could develop into a theory that you believe. You theorize something is true about the world, and then more scientists will do more investigation. If hundreds and hundreds of scientists independently verify the same results over and over again with no evidence to the contrary, it's still not considered true because we do not know how to exactly find true. All we can do is do investigations and have either support or non-support for our ideas. So a law is something that many scientists over a very long period of time have held to be true, and it is expressed as a law. It is possible that some of the laws of nature that we know or that we propose is actually not the full story or incomplete or not true in some senses. And then later those can be further developed. But a scientific theory is essentially just a hypothesis that is supported by evidence. And a scientific law is a hypothesis supported by lots and lots of evidences over a long period of time through many investigators.